The way I look at it is that the Son of God can still be learning from the Father. Are you guys following my line of thinking here? That the Son of God is learning from the Father, and we have this kind of give and take in the Godhead, this strong and weak element in the Godhead. Here's God. Inside God, there's a strong and weak element. Just like an atom has a strong and weak boson, or there's electromagnetic forces, there's all kinds of, there's things that make up the atom. And there's a weak and strong force in there. When I learned that one time, if it's true, I mean, you can barely trust sciences anymore. Some science is true, I believe. But when I heard that, I was like, that reminds me of how God is. Within God is a teaching capacity and a learning capacity in God. And that's the father-son relationship. See, it's expressed to us as a father and son relationship. And that's how we relate to God, is through a parental, a brotherly kind of relationship. We have a friend, brother, father relationship, a son and daughter relationship with this God. And he created us in his image so we can understand these kinds of things. I don't think animals think this way. I don't think animals can comprehend these kinds of concepts and lines of thinking and inquiries and deduce and deduct and rationalize logically all these kinds of things. And the only reason we can get this way is because the Bible teaches us different pieces of the puzzle. The only reason I'm thinking like I'm thinking is because I can take every one of these thoughts that I have and find a scripture for it. I could show you scriptures where the Son of God is learning from the Father. I could show you scriptures where Jesus says the Father is greater than me. I can show you scriptures where it says it's better to give than to receive. I could show you scriptures where the Son of God inherits everything from the Father. Inherits the name, the power, the throne, the position. Inherits things, takes, receives, learns from the Father. And if Jesus is God, as much as we believe that he's God, then we have to incorporate this kind of weakness in the Godhead. And not that God's weak, but inside the Godhead, there's an element of, shall we say, well, let's call it weakness, because Jesus says the Father's greater than I am. Only the Father knows when the Son's coming back. It's all been planned by the Father. It's all been seen by the Father. It's all been, foreshadowed by the Father. So when I think of the Godhead, the Father and Son relationship, I think of God, the Father, the one that we can really never know face to face other than the Son of God. And Jesus says, nobody's seen the Father but me. No one can know the Father but who I revealed him to, and he reveals his Father through his presence. So the Son of God reveals the Father by saying, look at me, you'll see the Father. He told Philip, when you see me, you're seeing the Father. And that's about as close as you're going to get. I think that that's as close as you're going to get. Now, Benny Hinn will tell you that the Father also has a body and hands and feet and things like that. But we don't get that in Scripture. We don't get that in Scripture. There's an image of God, and that's the Son of God. Okay? How many of you know that if you're going to see God, if you're going to see an image of God, if you're going to see a form of God, if you're going to shake God's hand and see God's face, that's going to be Jesus? You guys understand that? That's as close to seeing God as we will get, I believe. And the other picture of God that I see in Scripture is that there's this bright light sitting on a throne. It's so bright that you can't see the details of this brightness, and coming forth from that light is the Son of God on the right hand. And you see this image of the Son sitting at the right hand of the Father, but the whole image is so bright that you can barely make out the Son of God sitting on the right hand. And that's what we start to see God as. We see God as this bright, powerful, illuminating light. And then we see the details of his image coming forth from his right hand to us in the form of his Son. The Son of God is our interface, our connection to God. The doorway, the path, the narrow entrance, and so on and so forth. And he reveals God to us. And that's how we see God.